You know you better watch out. Yeah, some girls are all free about some guys are only that thing, that thing, that thing, that thing. Oh, we're trying to let it go. Trying to keep my eyes closed. Trying to keep it just like before. Times when I never even thought to speak. Don't wanna tell you what it is. Oh wait, that's so serious. Got me thinking just too much. I wanna shut it out, but this one thing that got me tripping. This one thing that got me tripping. This one thing is so irritating. This one thing is just this one thing that got me tripping. This one thing that we didn't need. This one thing is also winning. This one thing is just hey, we don't know each other well, so boy, I keep thinking to myself. Memory just keeps ringing bells. If I just don't wanna understand, why can't I just get towards the door? That's one thing like got me tripping. That's one thing like got me tripping. That's one thing is so irritating. That's one thing is just one thing like got me tripping. That's one thing I want to end. That's one thing you know so weird. That's one thing you do. Maybe I just believe my heart. That's one thing you do. Jerome Sandal. I'm back from the day job, running back from the way it was. So quick to basic, running back to the street. I'm never going back, never going back. Oh, you can't make me. Never going back, never going back. They never take me. I put enough of petty dues. I put enough of shitty loose. I had a thing for dirty shoes. If I was son of dirty men alive. Ooh, and today they got you. Ooh, I just take it day by day. Ooh, never hearing what they say. Ooh, I just do it my day. God is these broken thoughts. I ain't got no time to spend it day by day. Still love, I'm still love. Still love, still love, still love, still love, still love. Nothing but love for you, nothing but love, nothing but love. All that I've got, pieces and pages, talking a lot. Sorry, I'm faded, got so done. You love me, you love me. Gotta shift to 10 a.m. Gotta get back to p.m. Gotta get that cash. Won't get past the lunch break. I ain't had a smoke break in about 2 days. In about 3 years since I dated you. So you still talking about me like you brother. I was gone for the better. You moved on to the better. I was down for whatever. And then some. It's gonna make me take the world. Yeah. The day they rush today. Ooh, I just take it day by day. Ooh, never hearing what they say. Ooh, I just doing my best. God, these broken thoughts I ain't got no time to spend day night. Still love, I'm still love, I'm still love, still love, still love. Still love, still love, still love, nothing but love for you, nothing but love, nothing but love. Don't leave me sleep at 1 a.m. Heart beating, baby. Oh, yeah, I'm just doing a party. I don't need nobody. All that I've got, pieces and pages, talking a lot. Sorry, I'm faded. I forgot you love me, you love me, you love me.
Hello, 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 everybody. How's everybody doing? Thank you all for coming to little old Stacy B's mental asylum over here, the Section 8 asylum. Thank you. I see y'all in the chat. Yo, I ain't even gonna hold you. I was not sure if I was gonna have 5 people in this chat. I said, if I don't get 5 people in this chat, I am hanging it up. Okay. Can everyone hear me all right? Drop a 1 in the chat if you can. I don't see any ones yet. Can y'all hear me okay? All right. Puffs. Hey, Puffs. Evangelist back to, you know what, sis? I can always rely on you to throw up some weird numbers. JB in the house. Evangelist Val. Auntie OG. I see all the opinionators here. My sexy 65. Melanated drip. Boo. Yolanda. What's up, sis? What's up, sis? Let me see who else in here. Y'all know I'm not used to this. Incoming. Shout out to the opinionators. Tremaine. Anyway, let's get it started. So tonight is obviously my first live, so give me a little grace, okay? I wanted to kind of touch on old school versus new school parenting with some war stories of, childhood war stories, because I know it's some badass people in the chat, or we all like to think we were angels, but I'm sure some of y'all was some bad little kids. I was hoping to see C Dove here because I know he got his ass whooped when he was a kid. But in discussing these topics, I was like, well, who do I know has a lot of experience as a parent? And I thought of my good sis Evangelist Val, because she's got 7 beautiful boys, you know all with different personalities. I know we got some other parents in the chat too. So I welcome anyone, throughout the live. If you want to hit the link, I want to hear your best childhood stories. I'm not talking about where you was innocent and you got everything you wanted. I want to hear the gutter ones where you got, beat down with size 15 Timberland boots. Okay. I want the truth. And depending on the war story and who has the best, I don't know. We might have to vote on it within the next 2 days. But I want to give out, maybe like a $25 Venmo or Cash App of some sort. So you guys let me know what you think in the chat about that. So I see my sis is in a backstage. Let me add you to the stage. Are you there?
Hola.
Hola, ¿cómo está?
I don't know what to say after that.
Uh, you just say you are good.
Oh, okay, I'm fine. Did y'all just see me in my without my wig on? But anyway,
Val, you are a real mother, okay?
what's going on, y'all?
You are a real mother,
I am a real mother.
okay?
Like I have really, really given birth a bunch of times, and I have really watched little people say first words and eat and walk and all that stuff, that they do. And I have had to give first time. Listen, I'm gonna tell y'all. It took me about 30 years before I ever said go to timeout. I was never a timeout mother. I didn't even understand the concept of timeout until one of my sisters was like, "You ought to put him on timeout." I was like, "I don't know what that means because timeout is time taken out of my day to have him standing in a corner when he could be doing something else." So, yeah, no, I wasn't a timeout mom. I was definitely hands on with my children.
Okay. I hear you say that.
Hmm.
Um, but my little nephew over there, Champion, hmm he's
Well,
the youngest. He
and he's
runs that house, okay?
right, right.
He
And
runs
but
it. Hi,
Stacy,
Regina.
hi everybody in the chat.
Oh,
Hi y'all. Hi y'all. Hi
I'm
y'all.
sorry. So, yeah, so my channel is Adventures Through Adversity, and I've had a few of these discussions. Sorry to cut you off, Val.
No, you fine.
Um, with some of the closer people that I talk to on YouTube, and I do a lot of extreme sports. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make my channel emojis the blue wave with some surfboards. Okay. My surfboard is cute, but y'all could throw up whatever color surfboard with your little person in the chat, and we gonna rock out with it because life comes in waves of good and bad. Okay.
You ain't lying about that.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And I know it comes in waves at Val's house because there's been times when I've been on the phone with her and my nephew has thrown a remote or the tablet. Okay. So there is a reason why um Val has a helmet. Okay. And I'm pretty sure she took off that helmet, and that's why y'all saw her without her wig when she camped up. Okay.
Listen, I can't walk
Yeah.
around. Listen, yeah, I have to shift up. You gotta let your hair breathe. So I can't wear my helmet all the time, and I can't wear a wig all the time. Sometimes you gotta have your what's the thing I got on? Y'all know what I'm talking about. So I
Uh,
gotta let my hair breathe sometimes. But yeah, this little boy here in my house right now, the 5-year old, he is treated differently than the other boys were treated growing up. That's for sure. He actually puts himself on timeout. He put himself on timeout yesterday because I was fussing at him. And he told his 16, 17-year-old brother, he said, "I'm going on timeout." And he walked over to the corner and faced the wall. And I was like, where did he learn that? Because I've
he
never
just threw himself in it. Huh? Okay.
he was like, "I'm cutting up. I'm going this time out." But yeah, I that's just not anything that was there when we were growing up. And so with my first group of boys, really all of my boys, I just never did time out. It didn't make sense to me. It's not a punishment that really makes sense. I feel like children should understand their punishment as it comes with the thing that they've done wrong. If you know what I mean. So like if you are spitting or if you are hitting people, me putting you on time out is doing what? Taking you away from doing those things. Well, you already know you shouldn't be doing those things, right? So I believe in I think I'll always be a parent who believes in being they call it corporal punishment. I just call it a good old fashioned spanking. a little bit of a
Period.
whooping ain't never hurt nobody.
That's what that red bandana on the wig was for, right? Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
You put that good old headband on and you get you a good little twig, a good little what's it called out the tree?
a
The good
switch.
little
A switch. You gotta
switch.
have a switch.
Get you a switch and you gotta wet it first. You gotta wet it, run the fire hose over it, cause it
Not the
gotta be
fire hose.
wet.
Bow. This is not the
it it only
1950s.
it only matters if it either the fire hose is wet. See, look.
Look,
Yes,
he
champion.
finna get
Yes,
going.
champion.
Hi,
Oh, he told
champion.
you hear him? Did you hear him say? He said, "Be
I
quiet.
thought I heard that
I'm
remote
too loud for
fly.
him. I'm too
So
loud for
shh.
him." So you get that switch, and either melanated drip. That's not abuse. That's
Thank
how
you,
you make it
sexy
count.
65.
That's
There we
hey
go.
sexy. That's how you make it count, Auntie OG. If the skin is wet and the switch is wet, that's how they remember the whooping. See, this is how you keep your child from getting whoopings. You make the first one a memorable one, and you'll never have to whoop them again. You go around and you just tapping this baby, tapping these kids on the bottom. Oh, stop it, pat, pat, pat. They're going to keep doing it because it ain't nothing. But you make this a memorable spanking, baby. They ain't going to never get no whoopings because they're going to be like, oh no. You got me that first time. I know what's coming. And they going to do as much as they can to stay away from it happening again. Now, that's just real.
But I don't know. I kind of
Melanated.
felt like it's something sadistic behind. I think all of us probably grew up in with maybe with the same grandma, right? Where they be like, go out there and
Yeah.
pick me a switch, but don't have it come back too thick. They want it thin, just
Yeah. Oh,
like you
yeah.
said. Man, let me tell you something. I would drag my feet. Okay. I took the longest walk to that tree, period. Would pick
Yeah.
up multiple ones and it was never good enough. And then
Yeah.
I learned real quick, pick out the right one the first time around. Okay.
Yeah.
Or you get
And,
more of them. Hmm.
well, that and that's the thing. I think that a lot of us, that's why we have, the perseverance that we do, and a lot of us, that's why we tough, because we had to go out there and get that switch, and then when we brought in the wrong kind, we had to go back out and get another one. Some of us had the grandmothers or the mothers that were like, go out there and get that switch, and if you bring me the wrong switch, you gonna go out there and you gonna get the right switch, and if you bring me the wrong switch again, you're gonna go out there and get five more. Like there was no way to get out of the whooping, even though you would try. You would bring back that thinner switch or that thicker switch thinking it's gonna be easy on you. And then y'all remember when you would get that the right switch, but you would think you was gonna get your whooping with your pants pulled up, or think you was gonna get
Drop
your
them.
whooping. Right, drop them. It was it was no, you wasn't getting away with it. And I feel like that is what's missing, y'all. We let them get away with it. Cause like now, like I said, my 5-year-old, he puts himself on timeout. There's no punishment for these kids. He's like, yeah, I know, timeout. We ain't never put him on timeout. He probably learned that on something he watched on TV. He's like, yeah, I know, timeout. I'm over here. I'm in the corner. Don't bother. There is no
But
punishment.
well, according to Auntie OG, she said, "Man, getting a whooping right out the bathtub." Okay, so
Yes, that wet
yeah.
skin.
But you
Mm-hmm.
know what? I recall, and so I'm assuming that we all grew up, with the exception of Tiara. She never got a beating. Okay,
Tierra's a
look
good
at you,
girl.
Tiara. She was so sweet, and I ain't gonna hold you. You see my little avatar? That was the look I started figuring out how to give people
You
real
look
young.
bad. You look
I
bad.
wasn't bad. I
In my
gave.
house, you'd have stayed in the whooping corner,
I
eh,
was quiet,
holding the
and
switch.
when I was about that age, I had to sit on the stairs. That was like my timeout, you know. And I
You
want to
look
say not
bad.
long after that, I started getting my whoopings, but I only
Yeah,
had
you
to
look
get,
bad.
yeah, I only had to get a couple. Nah, I figured out how to do things my way, which was
Let me tell
quiet
you
and
why
look
you.
cute.
Let me tell you why you look bad. You got baby hair. See, little girls that had baby hair back
You know
then was
what?
bad. They thought they thought they
Wow.
was cute. You got baby hair and eyebrows. See, you had all the framings of a good face going on. And then they had nerve to put a white collar on you. You knew you was bad. You knew you
Look,
was bad.
I almost dropped my Punky Brewster picture. My mama dressed me up like Punky Brewster back in the day. That was man.
So your mama was helping you be bad. Look, y'all, she got a white
Uh,
collar, the baby hair, a white ribbon, a one ponytail. And look, the one ponytail ain't even in the back. It's up in a updo. They was trying to make this baby bad. Look at her. Look at her face. Bad.
but Val, I know
She
that
was
parents
Michael
today
Jackson bad.
look. Okay, let me tell you something.
And
I
she got on a
know.
plaid dress.
Uh-oh. I'm sorry, y'all. I know that nowadays parents like to send their kids to school
Mm-hmm.
dirty with dirt.
Mm.
You might think it's chocolate on the side of the mouth or on the chin. It ain't chocolate. That's layers of dirt. You hear me?
Not chocolate.
They like to the yeah to the hair ain't been combed in I don't know how long. So nowadays you see people, kids with matted up hair at the top, in the back, and then ball balls on the end.
Not the
Okay.
ball.
Yeah.
Well, you
I
know
am
what
sick
that
of it,
well,
Val.
but let's think about it again. That goes back to the difference between then and now. See now, melanated, your ponytail. I already know your ponytail was up because see, certain girls had up top ponytail. You had an up top ponytail. Queen Black had an up top ponytail. Auntie OG, you had a long ponytail that went down the back. You was like me. You was see, some of us, I didn't even have a ponytail. Y'all already know I didn't have no bangs. Remember the story about the bangs? I didn't
We
have
remember
long
you
hair.
burnt them off with the iron on the ironing board. Your bangs
Some of
was like
us wasn't
ruffles on the
blessed
board.
with ponytail hair. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
But
EJ.
back, hey EJ, but back to the matted hair. This is what's happening now. Back then, see, you couldn't get away with matted hair. Your kids wasn't getting away with that back then because the teacher was gonna tell you your baby got matted hair. They was gonna send a note, and it was gonna be safety pinned on the back of their coat, and it was gonna be under their name and. Don't don't send
Comb this
don't
child
send
hair.
little Val to school tomorrow with them same braids and balls that she got in today. But see, nowadays everybody's child want locks and everybody's child want dreads. So everybody tries to get away with faking like they child got locks and dreads. And so they leave their kids' hair undone for months at a time, matted to their head with 4 or 5 little braids or balls, and they supposed to be in the transition of getting dreaded or locked. You get away with that now, but you wouldn't
I don't
got
know.
away with that.
Is it a transition, or is it parents are just so lazy to require their under 8 child, to wash their first of all, your child should not be washing their hair at that
But
age.
that's the
Okay.
thing, baby. That's the thing. It's
You know
it's
what I
all about being. It's all about laziness. Cause think about it again. If parents were as hands on, and I'm not talking about nobody. I'm not saying that parents are worse now than they were then. I'm saying that the requirement of parents, right? So back
Mhm.
then, our parents had no choice but to do everything. They just had to do it. Our parents were looked at as being, they had to do every single solitary thing. The neighbors were watching, the teachers was watching, the principal, everybody was watching what you did. Now it's almost like nobody is watching. Remember, the village raised the children. Now
That's
there is
right.
no village, right? So you can get by with saying, oh yeah, Mark is getting his hair braided in a couple of weeks. Oh yeah, she's getting her hair locked up in about a month, and that's new growth. You see what I'm saying? And so you looking at it and you like, that ain't new growth, that's nappy. But mama is saying that's new growth. You see?
Well, we could mask it with whatever we, want to, but I'm just gonna keep it a buck with you, Val. I call those the trifling trenches. Okay, every
Not
once
the
in a while,
trifling
the
trenches.
trifling trenches. Every once in a while, Val, we get a blend of old school and new school parenting, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not in a healthy way. Okay,
Okay.
we got parents
Okay.
that, yeah, we got parents out here that's disciplining their children for saying they hungry. Now there's a difference. Okay, let me stop there. When my mother would take all of us, me and all my brothers, to
Mm-hmm.
her girlfriend's house, whoever house, she'd tell us before we even stopped in the driveway, you better not open your mouth and ask for nothing. Okay,
Right.
that's what she used to tell us. Now that was a difference because we were full. We had what we needed. But
Right.
nowadays, kids are starving. Okay? They starving. So that's different from, us, my mama saying, you better not ask for nothing except water. Here in 2025, we
Right.
got kids getting cussed out like grown men on the street for saying, I'm hungry. Can I get a piece of that chicken? Can
Right.
or don't do that. Okay?
Well,
Or we
but
go ahead.
but do you think? Let me ask you this: do you think that when your mom took you and your brothers to see her cousin Francis, do you think that when y'all got in the car to go see Francis, were you hungry? No, you were not. Your
No,
mom
we were
made sure
not. Mm-mm.
y'all were fed. And so
That's
when y'all
right.
pulled into that driveway, she was like, "Don't go in here and ask for nothing," and y'all wasn't going to anyway because there was nothing to ask for. Now, there's a
Right.
difference between y'all going to see Francis and saying y'all hungry and y'all really being hungry. And there's a difference between y'all being at y'all own house and being like, "Mama, we hungry," even before y'all even leave y'all house. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you talking about trifling trenches. It's trifling to not feed your kids at
That's right.
home. Why
Or
are children eating at home?
and not taking them to school because you up all night, either in the streets or on social media, and then by the time the sun come up, you decide to go to sleep. Well, your child is sitting there getting ABCs and one, two, threes and Z's and stuff mixed up because they don't know which one come first. Okay. And it's like, it, it's just some people are doing a disservice to their children. Me and my family, I grew up in it almost felt like a dictatorship, right? Old
Yeah.
school parenting is associated with authoritarian type, dictator
Oh
type
yes,
stuff.
for
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the discipline is there. It's almost like we're gonna put the fear in you so that
For
you act
sure.
right. You know,
Yes.
I
Hmm.
remember me and my brother, my Irish twin, we was in church with my mama, and we was down south, and we were so bored. We was at this big evangelist church. No offense, Val.
It's okay.
Um, but we had never seen anybody speaking in tongues. So
Uh
me and
huh.
my brother, we bored. We sitting next to my mama. She up shouting and crying, and we just kind of looking around. And so I turned the page to the back of the Bible and started playing tic tac toe on the blank pages in the back.
Uh huh.
Next thing I know, baby,
Vandalizing.
listen. When I say, and it was a mega church too, Val.
Uh
Okay,
huh.
all them people started speaking in tongues, and I bust out laughing, and my brother just looked at me, and I just could not control it. And my mama came up out the spirit, sat down. I don't even think she sat all the way. I think she hovered over it like it was a toilet seat, and she grabbed my arm and twisted it. Val, she twisted, them twisty pinches, and
Uh
she
huh.
looked at me and she clenched her teeth like that. You know what I'm saying? Look,
Yeah.
mm-mm. But I bet you I
Yeah.
never did that again.
That's what I'm
Okay?
saying. See, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. We can all look back and be like, and I don't know that anybody in this chat is like this, but I know that I can go like to lunch with girls I grew up with, or sometimes when we have family get-togethers, and I got cousins that whine and cry about the way they grew up, and they'll be like, "My mama used to do so and so, and that's stunted my growth, and that's why I don't love men and all this kind of stuff." Girl, you. if it wasn't for your mama making you do those things, ain't no telling how you would have turned out. It's the like you said, the what did you say?
Authoritarian.
Authority.
Is that
Yeah, that
you about to
it's
mess me up? Uh,
it's
authoritarian.
because
Yeah.
of that that we are able to hold ourselves accountable in a lot of situations where we normally would be like, that ain't my fault, right? I didn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do this. We are able to take accountability for a lot of things in our lives because we were made to take accountability as little kids. Yes, I can remember so many times when my man, y'all know my siblings, they was out of control and they was always putting everything on me. We would go to the grocery store and my mom would be like, go over there and get a gallon of milk, right? Or go over there and get some eggs. And so it'd be me and my sisters, and my oldest brother was always the one. He would go and he would get the gallon of milk, and we would get the eggs. We all going in the same section. I would pick up the eggs and he would get the milk. He would walk in behind me and trip me so I would drop the eggs. When the eggs would fall, he would say, "Oh, I'm telling." He would run, put the milk in the basket, tell my mama she over there playing, she dropped the eggs. Knowing my mama's coming over there. I done told y'all this woman could have ran the army. She comes over there and she's like, "So you over here playing in the eggs? Are you over here playing in the eggs? You know what I got? I got to. We at Safeway. I got to get the Aldi. After Aldi, I got to go take the dog to the groomer. After the groomer, I got to go speak with the pastor. I got to plan the Pastor and Wife's anniversary. I got to go see Jesus. Then I got to go see Mary Had a
Not
Little Lamb. I got
Jesus.
to get my nails done. I got to get my hair done. I got to roll my hair. I got to press your sister's hair. I got to talk to your daddy. I got to get your daddy. My mama had 199 things to do after I had to clean the eggs up. So it was me saying, "Yes, mama, I dropped the eggs," knowing that it was somebody else's fault, but being able to get up and stand in the fact that I did drop the eggs. It was only having to be able to admit that I did something and knowing that my brother was going to eventually get in trouble for it, but my parents making sure that I didn't run away from whatever it was. That's why I don't have a problem saying I did what I did. You understand what I'm saying? Now,
Okay.
nowadays, when your kids do something wrong, not necessarily y'all, but whoever, nowadays people's kids do something wrong. And the brother will tell on them, and the mama will be like, "Why you always snitching on your brother? Or why you always say, just do it?" Da, da, da. You'll see a whole family falling out in the grocery store over one little thing. This why I shouldn't have brought your ass up in here. This why I leave y'all in the car and the police come knocking at the door and say one of y'all fell asleep in the back of the car and then I end up at the police station. This is why. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like it's a whole
Mm-hmm.
scenario because the parents don't want to take responsibility for their kids and allow their kids to learn a life lesson that will lead them into being adults somewhere longer down the line that are really members of the community that matter. But we don't want to do that or admit to that. And we don't want to admit that we really grew up with morals and values that create something that is great in this community. Nobody wants to say that. And if we would admit that, yeah, we grew up in a time that mattered and we grew up to be fruitful, wonderful people. And that's why we can have these kind of conversations. That's why you could have this platform to sit and talk about things like this. It's because of the way that we grew up. But because of the way things are going now, people don't they're not going to be able to have talks like this, open conversations because they don't even understand what's happening to them right now. They don't understand some of the traumatic things that are going on in the world right now. These young people don't understand it. They don't know what's coming, what's going. They don't understand religion. They don't understand uh, the battle of sexuality. They don't understand parenting. Nothing.
Well, I didn't have to get whippings very much. My grandmother always had my back, but she used to whoop my brothers and all. I had mostly brothers and all male cousins, with this exception of two female cousins at the time.
Yeah.
Um, and my grandma used to whoop them with a wooden spoon. Okay, I mean, pop them hard like. And I was her little angel. Okay. And so, but the thing that was life changing for me was I was
The
a
lies you tell.
teen. No, I'm gonna tell you, I was a teen. This what changed it for me. Okay, because we was in church. It felt like we was in church 3, 4 times out the week, Val. Okay.
For
And so
sure. Yeah.
I knew to call on Jesus if
No, you
something,
had
to
to.
tell him what I want. That's right. And so, girl, let me
Melanated, you
tell you what
right.
happened.
I agree with melanated too, what she said.
Oh, yep. We gonna phase on into the new school, the or what they call it, the gentle. But I want to tell y'all the life changing beating for me. Okay. I was not really boy crazy or nothing like that. I was always in sports. But anyway, there was this white boy. This gonna sound so crazy, y'all. He was a teenager. He was older. He had a moped. Okay. And he had blue hair. And back then we had to come in the house, when the street lights came on, like all of that. So I asked if I could ride. And we ended up riding and riding. And my mama pulled up when we was riding on the sidewalk, and my mama and her man at the time pulled up on that corner, and my face must have went like white as a ghost because I lost track of time. My mama said, "You better get your off that thing," and I raced home. Okay. So I get in the house. She tell me to go to my room, take my clothes off, because she was about to whoop my behind. Do you know I had a day bed, Val?
How old were you?
I had to be like, hey, the golden child.
Hey, golden
I
child, love you.
I had to be like a preteen. I might have been 12 or 13.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
My daughter's age. Um, and that's kind of where my motorcycle riding love started, right? But anyway, so I get in the house and I'm like, dang, she for real, because she ain't never told me to do this before. She told me to take my butt in the room and take my clothes off, and I just knew she was coming in there with a belt. So I did not do that. I went in my room and I started layering my clothes on. I started putting on sweatpants, blue jeans, shorts, my brother basketball shorts. I was putting everything on I can. When she bust through that door, Val, I promise you, and she's a tourist, and I promise you it was like seeing a bull. I got so scared, I ran and flew up under my bed. Now, anybody that grew up in an old school house knows that when you about to get your butt stumped in, okay, you do not run, because they
You
ain't gonna do
sure
nothing but
don't.
make them mad, okay?
Yeah.
My mother chased me around that room, and the more I kept juking her out, even
The
under the
angrier
bed
she
and
got.
running, she was angry. Val,
Mm-hmm.
now I've disclosed that I was adopted and all this stuff. By the time my mama caught me, honey, I don't know how, I don't know if she body slammed me or what, but all I know is she was on top of me. And I said, I hate you. I
Oh,
want to go live with my daddy.
girl. You want to
I
go be
don't,
with your daddy?
yes, girl.
Oh, you signed,
Why
sealed,
did I
delivered
say
that,
that?
honey.
Okay. After that, all I know is my mama hands was around my neck. She was straddling me. And I know that now, I know as a mother, she was severely hurt. That, you know what
She
I'm
was
saying?
giving you
She
the
got me
Teddy
as a
Bundy.
baby. Right. I told her that. And that was all it took. Them hands was around my throat. And the only thing I knew to do, I said, Jesus, Jesus. I was calling on the Lord. And
I know
nothing
you was.
happened. Val, nothing happened. The Lord did not
Mm,
come down and help me
I know he
at
didn't.
all. Okay. My mama said, I know she naturally said this because she had already had all these boys. I was like
Hmm.
the angel because I was the girl that she never could have. Right. And she said,
Mm,
I brought you in this world and I'll take you out. And
I'll
I was
take
like,
you
oh,
out.
she angry because she didn't even birth me. She was like angry, angry, and hurt. So I
Mm.
said, well, Jesus didn't come, so I'm going to start foaming at the mouth. Okay,
Oh,
Val.
not you was
I
about to have a
started,
fit. Hi,
look,
just being me.
you,
Hi,
just being
Empress.
me. Hi, Empress. Thank you for coming. So yes. So Jesus didn't come. So I said, so back in the day, we used to play those games to see who could hold their breath the longest.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I started doing that. But mind you, her hands are still around my throat, like she was choking out, like Homer was choking out Bart Simpson. Okay. And so I said, Lord, I'm about to go. This is it. So I'm just gonna start foaming. If I foam at the mouth and hold my breath, she'll stop and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry," anything. I was desperate. Val, I don't know what happened after that. All I know is after a little bit, she got up. Uh, she got up and told me to go wash my face and go to bed. Do you know the next day
Mm.
at school, Val, I had school pictures, sixth grade school pictures. So I had to be 12. Sixth grade school pictures. Now I'm very light, as you can see in my avatar. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, you looking kind of Ziploc baggy.
Val, I was through. I woke up the next day, didn't eat nothing, mind you, because she said, wash my face and go to bed. I woke up and went in there. I was scared to say something to anybody in the house. I went in there. It was like I was my own alarm clock, honey. Jesus woke me up and said, just get ready and rush to school. I looked in that mirror, Val. It looked like hickeys were all over my face, sis, because I had held my breath, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And I was straining, so my mama would get up off of me. I had to take my sixth grade pictures looking like that. Like I had like busted vessels all over my
All over
face.
your face.
Yeah, but that wasn't even the worst part, Val. I came from home from school and there was a doggone flower with a mylar uh, balloon and a teddy bear that said "Get well soon." I was dead. You hear me? I was dead. I didn't know what to think, Val.
What?
Okay. It said "Get well soon," and
Who bought you that?
my mama, girl, I was through. So imagine now, my
Girl, I'd have
mama,
been moving.
she worked 2, 3 jobs at the time. So I came home and I saw that. Now, mind you, I made straight A's at worst, like honor roll. So I
Right,
come
Queen
home and I
Black.
see that a flower and a get well soon and a teddy bear. So I'm like, oh my God. Like, I don't know what mental capacity she's
Girl,
in
your
right
mama,
now.
you made her
Listen,
flip a switch.
I
She
don't
didn't
know
even
what it
know she could
was.
do that.
Okay, but to get well soon, so
Every time
years
you say
later,
that, I'm so sorry to laugh, but every time
well, I
you
can laugh about it now. Okay, but I ain't gonna hold you. I know my camera ain't on. I'm over here sweating and stuff a little bit because I had a
girl,
flashback, girl.
I
Okay,
can only imagine seeing that as a child.
it was mentally. I didn't know what to think because
Mm.
I'm like, who does that? Get
Mm.
well soon after you done
Oh,
choke me out. Like,
girl,
girl,
you pushed her to the
listen.
limit. You pushed
I
her to the
asked,
limit. And
I
you know
asked my
what?
mama.
It was not so much, it wasn't even so much the chasing as it was you saying you wanted to go be with your daddy. Girl, my that is hurtful. That is
Yeah, yeah.
hurtful.
And she
And
was
I
working
think,
3 jobs.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she was working so hard to take care of y'all. And that
Mm-hmm.
broke her heart
It
when
did.
yeah.
But
Mm.
so I found out years later. I said, Ma, remember that time you choked me out? Right the day before my sixth grade pictures. Okay. She was like, I said, you don't. What? I said that was so true. Now this was years ago. And so I
Yeah.
asked her about it. And I said, well, let me paint the picture for you. And I told her, she said, you know what? I do remember that. I said, why you give me that balloon? Okay. Why did
Mm.
you get me that get well soon balloon? Was you like trying to mentally like I don't know what it was. Like, were you trying to
Right.
like mess my mind up? She said, no, girl, I couldn't afford the other one. They ain't had no more. So I just grabbed that one. I was like, hi, Miss Cleo,
Hey,
baby.
Cleo.
Yeah,
Wait,
thank
what
y'all for
was the other
coming.
balloon?
she couldn't. I don't know what the balloon was, but that was all she was with Val. She said she did not have that much money, and the other balloon, I think it had something to do. I can't even remember. Happy birthday or
Lord,
something.
I'm scared to think of what the
So
other balloons said.
I think it was like a happy birthday or something like that. So she said, "Well, that was the closest one I could get for
Get
I said,
well
right,
soon.
melanated.
Mm.
Right. A Taurus is no joke, baby. She flipped that switch. Oh my God. But I
You
tell you
flipped
what,
that switch. You did that. She didn't do
no.
that. You did it.
What scared her was I was her only girl, and for her to see me on the back of a moped with a teenager.
Yes, you did
That's what
that.
initiated it. Right.
You
But I
did
had never
that.
seen my mom like that.
You listen to me. I want you to look at this little
Hmm.
baby on this screen with this updo and this white uh
Ribbon.
ribbon and this baby here.
Not the baby hair. That was an innocent little girl, okay?
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you why this baby hair gets me. Because when I see these 55-year-old women with baby hair, I be like, my granddaughter got baby hair. My youngest one, she's about 4.
Hmm.
And I'll be when I see these older women, these 60s, in their 55, 60s, older women, I'll be like,
Right.
dang, how you keep your baby hair that long? That's a long time. Because how old are you in this picture?
I had to probably be like three, two and a
So,
half or three.
50 years, folks can hold on to
Right.
baby hair. I mean, it don't never grow to adult hair. That's a long time. That's all I'm saying. But
We
back,
seen that in the sector, Val.
I ain't
A
saying
lot.
it. I don't
We
be
have
looking.
seen.
I keep my eyes closed. I don't see nothing in the sector. I don't see that.
Mm-hmm.
Remember I can't hear, I can't see, I can't talk.
Uh-huh. I'm gonna
But
send you a picture later.
I don't want to see no pictures you done took.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see. But yeah, I think that you flipped that switch. I think that like Melanated said, we as older people, and I'm putting myself in there because like Kat said, I'm an elder. So I'm throwing myself up in the older people
Wade
bunch.
in the water.
Wait
Mm-hmm.
in the water, children.
And wade.
Wait in the
Mm-hmm.
water. Okay. I didn't walk in now.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Right. Ushered on in
but
the spirit.
I done got ushered in. Uh, I think that we sometimes assume that everybody was brought up a certain kind of way, and that assumption can sometimes cause problems and create a rift in communication, right? Because what I was saying earlier was this, and this, like it was law, and it's not necessarily a law that's universally understood because everybody wasn't brought up like me and you were saying, just like what we were saying about people whose children's hair might be matted. We might think it's matted and 4 weeks might be a long time, but somewhere else that might be like something that's not a problem, you know
Yeah.
that just might not be an issue. Just like people, I know people who think that when your nails look a certain kind of way, they're dirty. And then there are other people who think that dirt makes your nails grow.
Val,
And
who?
then
Wait, pause. Who thinks that?
there are people that think that.
It,
Let me talk. Let
I
me
know
cook.
about
Let
the
me
dirt
cook.
in the
Turn
hair,
the
but
oven
the
back on.
nails.
Turn the oven back on. I'm cooking. So,
Wait,
I'm trying to tell you how we have
who?
one idea and other people have another. Then there are people who think that you shouldn't wear certain things ever a certain age, and then there are other people who think you should be able to wear whatever you want. There are some people that think you can't have uh, a French poodle if you ain't from France.
Mm. Lord,
Y'all
Val.
get what I'm saying?
Do do
I'm
do.
saying that I'm saying that we all have different ideas about different stuff.
I cannot.
For example, let me tell y'all something. I am very funny about who my sons date. They don't care how I feel, but I do.
Mm-hmm.
They bring certain girls over, and I immediately feel some kind of way. I go into a mode that I call mama mode. I get to walking around, turning my nose up, rolling my eyes in the back of my head, walking funny. Well, I walk funny anyway. Y'all know I got MS. I'm disabled,
Uh,
but I walk a little bit funnier than normal. Then I call my 17-year-old in. He's my partner in crime. He gets the way I look and he understands when I make certain noises. So if I be like, mm-hmm, huh, he be like, I know that's right, mama.
okay. Right.
So I don't have no daughters. So he just be, you know what I'm saying? He understands me. But I just there are other women who might be like, oh, she's perfect for my son. But as far as I go, I'm like, no, not mine. Because there are certain things that I don't want my kids to, that I don't want that for them right now. I feel like that's not where they should be. Not that there's nothing wrong with the girl, but I don't feel like that's what's what my son should be doing. And sometimes it's not even some people might be like, well, what's wrong? They make a cute couple. They make a wonderful couple. But he sometimes it's not that she's not ready. He's not ready. A mother knows her child. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll even give y'all an example. One of my boys, there was a time where none of my kids had children. And one of my boys started dating this beautiful girl. She was had just finished school. She was gonna be an RN. She had a beautiful little girl, a 2 year old. And her and my son have been dating for about maybe about 6 or 7 months, and the little girl just loved him, and the father of the 2 year old was a nice guy, and they got along and everything. But I didn't like my son's movements because I can see him all the time. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And I didn't like the way he acted when he was not with her. I didn't like the way he performed as a boyfriend away from her. And so when they were together and I saw him being this lovey dovey pseudo dad and boyfriend to her, it made me mad because I realized that he was selling her a dream. And
Right.
he wasn't living up to it for real. And so I talked to my husband about it and we had a conversation with him about it, and I just explained to him what you're doing isn't right. And one of my sisters was like, well, you that's not right. Y'all should be on his. I'm not gonna be on his side because he's my son. Do you
Okay.
understand? See, that's the mistake we make.
Right.
If I say to him, oh yeah, you're doing a good job, and pat him on his back, knowing he's gonna break her heart, then I'm no better than any other woman out here that would have done the same thing to me had my husband been doing that to me. Or I'm no
Mm-hmm.
better than, you know what I'm saying? We have to do the right thing for people. He needs to grow up. He needs to be able to recognize when he has a good woman in his midst. So I told him, if you don't tell her, I have no problem telling her. And I meant that because all I could think about was, what if this was me and my mother in law? Would I want her to sit back and allow? Because we wouldn't let him bring other girls over here, but I knew that he was seeing other girls. So no,
Yeah.
I wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
I would not perpetrate that fraud with him. And so for me, it's just a matter of there are certain things that I think we as older people have to be willing to kind of step up and say, oh, that's not appropriate. That's not acceptable too, even though these are our children or these are our grandchildren. Because, yeah, we want to protect them and we want to love them and we think they the best thing since sliced bread, but they can be wrong too. They don't always, make the best decisions. And we don't always make the best decisions. Because I could say, oh, no, girl, you better marry my son. Oh, y'all make the cutest couple, but I know he's not ready to be a husband. I know that at the time. I knew he was not ready for that stage. And that's what she was looking for. So, you got to be honest with yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. You got to be honest with yourself because you don't want nobody's heart to be broke because you're not willing to tell the truth.
Well, for me, I look at, I'm kind of torn. Like I said, I was raised, a lot of us were under old school parenting styles. And so for me, just like during my military service, I took the good and the bad from people. I learned from both, right? And so when I decided to conceive, me and my daughter's father conceived my daughter, we, I had this thought in my thought process, like, I want, obviously that connection. I want to show empathy. I don't want my child to fear me. Um, I wanted to offer something that even though I was very close with my mother and my grandmother and my father, it was almost like it was kids are seen and not heard. I resented them, my mother specifically, Valna fell off the porch, but I resented my mother for kind of raising me like that. Me having to tuck my emotions down to appease the adults, or you better not open up your mouth or say anything like that. So when I decided to have my daughter, I said, I think all parents, if you're a good parent anyway, you want to, raise children so that they will be better than you. I tell my daughter that all the time. I want you to be better than me, and your children, I want them to be better than you. And so for me, I was like, okay, how can I do this differently, but still incorporate, um, the discipline and, stuff like that. Right. And I think that that's where they came up with the term gentle parenting, and the large difference is that we give our children, we look at them as individuals with their own viewpoint. I allow my daughter to express herself. I wasn't able to express myself as a child. Um, Not for real. And if I did, it was very watered down. Okay. And so I tell my daughter all the time, if you feel that I've hurt you, or I could be doing something better, or maybe I'm not giving you enough attention, I said, I need you to tell me these things. You can express yourself so long as you are respectful, even when you're upset, because just like our children get upset with us, we get upset with God, right? But we're not out here cursing God and doing, no. You have to still be respectful and still understand that there's a source of love here. And so I give my daughter that opportunity. And you can call it gentle parenting or whatever. I just think it's supportive parenting. And doing so, it encourages our children to utilize critical thinking and to sit in their emotions and actually process them and feel them, right? I have friends right now in their 40s and 50s who they were not able to talk to their parents either, or their grandparents, or whoever raised them. And so they started acting out in their adulthood, their teenage years and their adulthood. And even today in 2025, I can see the difference in my friends who could work through those emotions, whether it was through therapy or making amends with their parents or their grandparents, whoever. I could see the difference in the ones that cannot. Hold on, Valna fell off the porch. I could see the difference in those who cannot emotionally regulate themselves. Right. I'm dropping a link, Val. And so I want my daughter to be able to feel those emotions, because she's gonna start dating and all this stuff. She just actually had a little boyfriend. That was the quickest relationship I didn't see in a long time. It lasted like 2 weeks, but I'm not mad at it because he's moving away. But anyway, that's not the point. I wanted my daughter to talk to me, to know how to articulate herself when she's being hurt. And I think that that's a big issue in the Black community as well. In our community, when bad things happen, like sexual abuse or stuff like that, we were raised to keep it in house. No, I'm not raising my child like that. We do need another moderator. I don't know how to do that, girl, from up here. Um, I'll work on that after the live. Uh-oh. Okay, there you go, Val. And so I teach my daughter, yeah, I taught her very young, like what are the no-no spots. I taught her the correct terminology, and when and if somebody, if it ever happens, blah blah blah, come and tell me, come tell an adult, come tell a trusted source, you know. And I couldn't do that as a child. And that matters when, as a child, you have to tuck things down. And when you grow up, you don't know how to express yourself in a healthy manner. And I see it all over this app, you know. And so I think overall, I think that there could be like a overlapping of gentle and authoritative parenting or old school parenting. Where's that warm and connected relationship between a parent and a child? Is empathy, a thing? Can you still manage to do either parenting style and have empathy within a relationship with your child? Can you look at them with empathy? If they obviously are getting bad grades and they're not used to that, well, let me stop for a second and ask them, hey, what's going on? Did something change? Is something different? You know what I'm saying? What's up, Val? You back?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I saw you fell off the porch.
Yeah, I fell off. I went outside to get some air, walk around the streets, make sure everything was everything.
Yeah, I saw you slide down the fire escape. So you don't have to do that, Val. We have a front door and stairs.
Well, we don't have no security, so I had to go out back. You know.
Mm-hmm. I see what it is. I see what it is.
I was listening to what you were saying, and I was agreeing with you. In my house, I am the harder parent compared to Eric, so I'm stricter than him. And it has a lot to do with childhood. So
Right.
my boys have always felt like um, I'm the stricter parent, and he's the kinder, gentler parent.
Mm.
We all have a ball together, but I've always been the one that's just stricter, and I make them do what they are supposed to do. I don't give much leeway, and I think that just comes from the fact that I just want them to be um, strong, and I want them to have good character.
Uh-oh, you there? You're
Uh-oh,
there
sorry,
you
can you
go.
hear
I
me?
can hear you. I can
Yeah,
hear
I want them to have good character. I don't want them to ever think that there's room to be liars and room to be um, you know to be, I don't want to use an
you.
inappropriate word, but just the bull
Manipulative. Yeah.
manipulative and bullshit artists. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I feel like men get there's too much space in the world for men to think it's okay to just say all kind of shit and get away with it, and then take it out on whoever is next in line because nobody held them responsible. And I don't want my sons to be like that. And so, whereas with their dad, they can go out, and they have boys' day and their weekends, and they kick it and have a good time. Whereas with me, we have hard conversations, and they get a woman's point of view, and they know a lot about my past, and they know a lot about things that I've been through and why I am the way I am, and why I refuse to have raised them in a way that they would be men like some of the men I've come across. I just refuse to have raised men that would hurt women like I have been hurt by men. And I think that God has balanced that out for us in a great way. And people always say, well, don't you wish you had a girl? And no, I don't. At first, after the first three boys, I was like, man, there's got to be a girl in here somewhere, but I get it. Now I get it. But I do think that there's always a reason for everything that God does. And when we are raising our children, I think that's why we have to go to him when we are when we're, you know, however we decide to punish them or give them their, you know, whatever it is you're giving them, whether you're praising them, whether you're chastising them, whatever you are doing, you should ask God first how to do it so that you're doing it in the best way. Because how you do it is going to definitely affect how they turn out as adults. It is going to have an effect. And how they turn out as adults, well, have, you know, that affects other people. So it's very important, you know, how what we do as children, to them as children, affects the world, period.
Yeah, I read somewhere, or maybe I heard it somewhere, a while ago. Is someone said an overprotective mother was an underprotected child, right? And I'm sure that that obviously is interchangeable with
Mm-hmm.
father and boys, and that's so true. You know,
Yes.
I've gone through things in my past. With I have my own traumas, that you know about, Val, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why I am so protective of my child. But I have to reel it back sometimes when my daughter says, "Ma, you got to trust me. You have to trust that you raised me
Right.
right." You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And God is watching over me. She was like, "You taught me well." And I'm thinking, "Well, you just turned 14. Nah, I still ain't let her go all out and do whatever." Okay. But she's basically asking me, "Hey, you have to loosen up a little bit, okay? Loosen
Right.
up. Trust that you did good as a mother, and you continue
Right.
to. And I'm gonna fall. I'm gonna, And I said, well, I don't want to just let you out into this cruel world. Like, I want to walk with you through it.
Right.
And
Right.
so, and sometimes that, um, she knows that I'm protective of her, but then I'm struggling with releasing a little bit. But then we also have an amazing relationship,
Right.
where a lot of people think I'm her sister. And I have to remind her, like, girl, I'm your mama. I am not your friend. I'm your
Right.
mama first. And, because I'm like the cool mom, or they think I'm her sister. And I
Yeah.
have to, so it's like a fine balance, but I don't have to, I don't have to whip or beat Naomi. I could tell her I'm disappointed in her,
Yeah.
and it would affect her. So with you, when it comes to you having all your sons, how did you navigate that? Like, knowing different personalities, I'm sure you couldn't apply the same punishment across the board.
Right. So with the first boys, so my sons are 35, 30, so 35 is my nephew, right? That's adopted, that we adopted when he was 14.
Hmm.
Because people are always like, you got a 35-year-old? Okay, so yeah, he's 35. I'm 53.
Right.
Um, and so with him, and then our first son is 32. 32, 30, no, he's 33, 33, 32, and then 27, 25, and then Chamberlain 17, and then the baby. So it's
You're gonna
almost
say the
like
lotto
the
tonight. I'm gonna need them numbers
it's
again later, girl.
okay. It's almost like with the 30s and the 20s, they kind of didn't grow up together, but they did because those 30s helped with the 20s in a way that they kind of were like, let us teach them what we know, kind of
Right.
thing, right?
Right.
So the teaching was kind of basically the same, and in a way that we were able to, I want to, let me think. So okay, so let me take my 32-year-old. He got whoopings, okay? So he was one of those kids where we were in our 20s. So of course, we were young. He got whoopings cuz we got whoopings. So he got whoopings. And he was a very good child, but he was mischievous. So he would do things at night when we were asleep, like sneak candy, sneak snacks. You'd make his lunch for school. He'd go in and make him an extra sandwich, that kind of stuff. Um, then when the other boys came along, the 25-year-old, he was like, that would have made my older boy like 10 or 12 years old. So then he wanted to be more of a guardian type, watch over those kids, those younger boys.
Right.
And so he would he had was in more of a protection mode to make sure they didn't get in trouble, so anything that they did, he would say he did, or he would clean it up or fix it before they got in trouble. But when they did get in trouble, they wanted to have like almost like a courtroom situation or a round table situation where we all sat down and sat together and talked about it. So
Mm-hmm.
they had 12 years over them, so, or 10 years, and they had developed this idea that instead of these younger brothers going through what we went through, let's all sit down and talk this out. So that's what they had developed in their time. So what we had ended up coming up with was more of a family gathering situation, where we could talk things over and where everybody got to say how they felt, as opposed to just me and daddy saying how what we saw and how it made us feel, and then delving out punishment. It was more of a, okay, tell us why you did this, what you think should happen, that sort of thing, you know.
Right.
So we definitely have grown from the first time we were parents to now at this, having a new baby over the last 5 years. We have definitely changed as parents. Um, and we've seen ourselves change, and and it's interesting too with our grandkids, even because I know with my granddaughters, I would never ever have treated my sons the way I treat them, but they're girls too. So they get parts of me that I think nobody would have ever gotten. But I think that it's just a matter of, when you were talking about um, different types of parenting, I think that with my younger, like my 17-year-old, I am so much softer with him than any of my kids ever. Like, he's the one that gets up in the bed with me at night and we watch movies, and he gets my medicine ready, and he'll when he wakes up in the morning for school, he makes my breakfast, and he's just we're really, really close. And there
Very
is
nurturing. Yeah.
very nurturing, and honest
Mm-hmm.
to God, there's nothing. He has never, knock on wood, praise God, he's never really done anything to make us have to have conversations about. And I think that's because he has all these older brothers that he talks to and that father him, and then he spends time with his dad. And so, if there's anything going on, they probably buffer it and I don't have to deal with it. And then when he comes to talk to me about things like his girlfriend or things like that, it's nice and kind and loving and beautiful conversations. And when it is something deep, then it's deep enough that we can just sit on the bed and talk about it, because he feels that he doesn't want anything to upset me, right? So
Mm-hmm.
everything is talked about in a different kind of way. And I think that is something else that comes into mind with my family, is that um with me being sick, there's so let me make this caveat. My family is different in this, because with me, as I've gotten older, I've gotten I've my illness has progressed. So with
Mm-hmm.
that progression, my everything in my life, as far as my family, has softened, right?
Right.
So even though I've had loss, like my mom, my brother, my some of the closest people to me, my husband and my children have gotten older, but they've softened, and my marriage has gotten softer and more filled with the spirit. And so
Right.
I see where God has developed things from years and years ago. You know how I talk about how you pray for things maybe in your 20s, and now you see it in fruition, or your ancestors pray. So that's how
Hmm.
I feel. I feel like there are things that I have prayed for that I probably would have never been able to understand when I was 19, and now I get it because now God has given it to me. So when my boys were 20, well, my 27-year-old son was had a stroke when he was 10 months old. I prayed
Hmm.
a prayer for my family when he was 10 months old. He's 27 now. God is just now answering that prayer for my family. And I understand why now, because that prayer that I was praying for my family then, my family could not have received it in the capacity that I was praying it. I was praying in a capacity that was greater than was necessary then, but
Right.
I didn't realize it then. I thought it was needed. It wasn't needed then. What I needed then, God blessed us with then. Now that we are bigger, and now that my illness has progressed, this is the time for that prayer. And so that's what I mean by everything comes in God's timing. And that's where I think our faith comes to play in the way that we raise our children, and the way that we see um our prayers and our blessings come from God. It's just knowing that, believing in him, right? And knowing that the things that we believe him for, even if you are the harshest parent, right? Even if you're
Hmm.
the harshest parent, just knowing that if you have prayed for these children, that you are, and even if you don't, because I don't want your people to be run off by what I say, even if you don't believe in God, okay, if you believe that the things that you are doing for your children are the best things that you are doing for your children, stay fast in those things. If you
Right.
believe they're not hurting your child, and if you believe that you're not raising your child in a way that could hurt anybody else, then just stay fast in that and keep on that track. And don't let anybody make you believe anything different. Because if you're not hurting anyone and your children aren't hurting anyone, then you must believe that those things and that path will only double and come back and return in goodness and in favor, right? And this,
Hmm.
it will all start to turn itself into what the same thing that anybody else that believes in God and loves God. It'll only come back and show itself to be beautiful, and only show itself to be double what you put out. And that's what we all want anyway. We just want our children to be good people. There are people to be like, no, I want my kids to be millionaires and lawyers and doctors and basketball players. But at the end of the day, I want my child to be a good child, or be a good person. I want my sons to be good men. I want them to be men of purpose. I want them to be good husbands and good fathers. I want them to be able to walk outside, and people to know who they are by the works that they've done. I don't care how much money they make. That's not important to me at
Right.
all. It's important to me that when people see them, they recognize them because of the works that they have done in the community around them, and that those works stand for themselves, and that people are inherently blessed by those works. That's what matters to me. Period. And
And
if
I think.
my if the way that I have raised them, if the way that I have raised them means that those works are inherently good, then God bless me and my family for that.
Right. I absolutely agree with that. And I think holding our children to account
Mm,
matters, right? And
very much.
mentoring them and being their spiritual covering. Okay. When my
Yes.
daughter gets upset with me and I get upset with her, you know, she's quick to be like, I need a minute, or we both kind of be like, let us calm down and revisit this.
Mhm.
But then if it's at nighttime, I'm like, I refuse to let, just like I would in my romantic relationship or with my partner, I refuse to let anybody in my house, my daughter specifically, go to bed
That's
upset.
right, babe.
We're going
I
to
agree.
talk about it because I will never send my child to bed
I
angry,
agree.
you know. And so that's one of the things that we're still navigating, because I'm also dealing with the teenage stuff now. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it can be trying, but I
Yeah.
believe that there's been so many different um situations and circumstances where had it been me growing up, I would have just been told to go to bed, right?
Mhm.
And I know what that felt like. I know what
Yeah.
it felt like to have to harbor that sadness or that anger, because we weren't allowed to talk about those type of feelings if we were upset with our parent growing up.
Mhm.
And
Oh
you can
no.
call it a gentle parenting all you want. I would rather
Mhm.
model, guidance and teaching and forgiveness and accountability
Mhm.
over shame and punishment. And kids are seen, not heard any day.
Mm.
Why can't it be a healthy blend of both?
Right.
Still hold your children accountable, but make them think about why they did certain things.
Exactly.
Where is this coming from? Instead of
Yeah.
dismissing it altogether, right?
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
now you're dealing with the child who, when they grow up, they don't know how to process their emotions, and then they end up in jail because their
Yeah.
initial thing, a child who is forced into silence as will grow up and be one who will outburst. Those are those people, um doing these mass shootings and joining gangs looking for family, or
Mhm.
fighting. The minute you look at them wrong, they ready to fight.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
they don't know how to control or process through emotional regulation. And
Yes.
so, yeah. And so I would rather go through the temporary pain.
Yes.
I remember one time, Val, I was so scared. My mama was cooking at the stove. Okay. Shout out to the stove, honey. And I don't know how she saw it. Okay. But I might have been, I think I was 12 was a hard year for me. Okay.
Okay. You know, 12 is a
Mama,
hard year for girls. It really is.
yes, period. And I was not
Mhm.
the kid to talk back. But baby, when my mama turned around and she was cooking, and we had a microwave and everything, but I don't recall it being up. I recall it being on the counter, okay, next to the refrigerator. So
Mhm.
it wasn't up at her face, is my point,
Yeah.
like they are now. She said something to me, and I was behind her. She was facing the stove cooking. And I must have, in silence, stuck my tongue out or flipped my finger out, my middle finger, something, Val. I don't know what the hell I did. And I
Uh-huh.
turned around and walked to go down the hallway. Next thing I know, this empty milk jug, hit me upside the back of my head. She
Uh-huh.
took that milk jug and she swung it. It was like a boomerang, but it just popped the hard bottom too, Val. And she
Uh-huh.
said, and that's what she told me. She said, "Let me tell you something, little girl. I can see everything. Mamas got eyes in the back of their head."
Mhm.
And I remember going to bed thinking, how the hell did she see that? I want to say I flipped her the bird and said something,
Woo,
but
child, you just
yes,
was, you couldn't think, girl, you
listen,
was
she
determined to
didn't
make
have
this
Val.
woman
I had
mad.
had enough. Okay, I had had enough at
You
12,
was just
but
done
I was
with your mama.
But let me tell you something. I respected my mother, and I overcompensated because I saw how much she struggled. I saw how much
Mhm.
she worked hard. But during that time, kids in our family, and it was because my mother was a baby boomer. They said, my aunt and my family says, your son is your son until he finds a wife. Your daughter
Mhm.
is your daughter for the rest of your life.
Rest of your life.
So I was over I was overachieving, getting straight A's, sometimes B's. My brother right up under me, he was getting straight D's and F's. But I was not allowed to go I was not allowed to go on trips or overnight things. My brother was gone every weekend, Val. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was
Mhm.
stuck at home. And it was because my mother told me I was the only daughter. She told me, and I was about 12 years old. She said, well, with the son, I only have to worry about one dingaling. With the daughter, I
All
have
of
to
them
worry
coming.
about many. And
Yep.
so, hey, Kamiko. And so that was her way. I understand now that she had a fear of her only daughter becoming a statistic. So she was extremely protective over me. And I was
Yeah.
frustrated because I was raised to
Mhm.
take care of my siblings under me, right? And it was like at times I felt like Cinderella, but I
Mm.
also stayed with my mother. She was the closest to me, and I was very protective of my mother, right?
Yeah.
And so now, even as an adult, I had to learn this in my 30s to stop people pleasing. And I said, well, how do I do that? I ended up going to therapy, and they said,
Mm.
when you people please as an adult, it was because you had to fight and fend for yourself as a child
Yeah.
to be heard, right? And so that's why I choose to blend parenting style. I don't have
Yes.
to punish my child through whooping her or beating her because she's not that kid. I don't have to do
Yes.
that. But I do blend them as far as the empathy and teaching and guidance, everything like I said. And what the last thing I'm gonna say as far as that is I make it a point. I don't care if you mad, you better not go to sleep. If you sad, you better not go to sleep or leave my house without telling me you love me, and vice versa. I make sure that we tell each other we love each other, we pray together, you know, and because you don't know what's gonna happen when she go to school, especially in today's climate,
You sure don't.
So yeah, that's that's
That's
that's pretty much
beautiful.
that. So I know
That's
we have
beautiful.
been on
I,
here for a while.
well, I'm gonna just say this.
Hmm.
I think this is a wonderful topic. I think that we can learn so much from one another as far as being parents, but I think we can learn so much from one another as far as being friends. I think there's so much lost on humans' ability to just learn from being humans. We're at a place in life now where the human uh, experience is no longer seen as a conduit. It's no longer seen as a way to gain information. It's no longer seen as something of value. Nobody looks at another person as something that's worth anything as much as it used to be. You know what I mean? That's
Right.
why lives every day somebody is having a shootout or driving through a group of people, or the human life is just not held at the way that it should be held, because we offer so much to one another. These kind of conversations, if they were held constantly every single solitary day, with a little bit of mess, y'all, ain't nothing wrong with the mess, but what we can give to one another, and it doesn't have to be um a parent anonymous course or alcoholics anonymous or drug anonymous
Right.
or sex anonymous. It could just be an open conversation where people can just come in and sit down and learn and talk about what's going on in their family and their life. And I like we just said, 12-year-old girls can be a lot. Let's talk about 12-year-old girls. Let's talk about
Mhm.
trouble with an 8-year-old. Let's talk about how to help your 22-year-old that's going through depression. But we can't have these conversations because when people find out your 22-year-old is going through depression, it becomes content. And then everybody's dragging your 22-year-old. And because that exists, it's hard to use the internet in a way that is healthy, because it's so much more um um financial there's so much more financial growth in using it in a way that's unhealthy. So I have a more I have a better way of using you, Stacy. If I
Mhm,
take all your notes from tonight, right, and I use
mhm.
them tomorrow to knock you down a peg, as opposed to being like, oh, I'm gonna add on to Stacy's live tomorrow and talk about some of the same things. Well, why would I do that when I could just talk about your little light skinned self with this bow in your head? We
Uh,
have so much more to give to one another, and that's what why I've been gone so long is because I'm trying to figure out how to turn it around and do the opposite completely of whatever this is that's going on now. I don't want not what you're doing, but going on everywhere. I don't want to do it no more. I want to do something healthy and full and satisfying for God's people, because there are people who really are hungry and aching for kindness and love and well-being, and they don't, they just want to have a good time. And that's why I was so excited for you starting your channel and getting the people over here to laugh and joke and talk about real life. And I think that the more channels that do this and the more channels that get started, I think the happier the atmosphere will be. And I just wanted to be here with you tonight to encourage you, tell you to keep going, keep, whatever your content is, I'm here to support you, get you some more mods. Um, and don't get discouraged. Your content will come to you. And I'm just excited for you. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for anybody that's got a channel coming. I think Tremaine, Cleo, whoever, just do y'all thing, y'all, and press forward. And as far as the parenting thing goes, y'all, if you are a parent, to God be the glory. I'm praying for us that are parents, grandparents, in
Amen.
this new society, this new world that's going on, because no matter what is new, God is still the same, and they can't pull no tricks out they hat when it comes to Him. So, Stacy, I love you. I'm gonna get down because it's almost time for my bed. My bed is, I'm an elder, and
Okay,
and
Elder
and
Val. I thank you so much for coming, and this obviously was my first live, and I love these honest conversations that we have behind the scenes, and I love that I'm able to bring them up publicly. And I think that, like you said, we could all be here for each other in a way. One story might help another person. Um,
yes,
I really wanted to personally thank you, Evangelist Val, Yolanda the Great, Incoming, and JR, Roxanne, and House of the Princess, just to name a few, for encouraging me to hit this live button. Okay. You
yes.
too, Kamiko. Okay.
Hey,
And a lot
Kamiko.
of and the subs and those that will um, you know, play this back on a replay. I really hope that you get something from this live, and I hope that you like, subscribe, and share. Um, I'm just grateful that we can have such a wholesome conversation for real. I
Yes,
really am. And God bless you, girl.
love you, babe. I'm gonna jump
I,
down.
okay, I love you too.
Okay.
Bye bye. All right. We are at the end. So, again, thank you. Hit that like if you haven't done so already. Oh, let me read your comment, Kimiko. I watch a ton of uplifting content, so I will watch great content. Thank you. I hope you find my content to be that way as well, sis. You know, so I'm going to end it here, and I will hit you all up on the next live. Thank you, and please hit the like. Y'all have a great rest of your weekend.